code, I've got the password to unlock your heart. Will you play a game? I promise not to cheat. Nintendo or Atari, boy, I think you're really sweet. I'm a super scoring girl with glitches, graphics on my mind. Like a Contra code, I'm full of life but never out of time. We can play together, you be playing one, I don't mind two, as long as it's a good controller and I get to sit with you.
Hi, take a look at this. It's a Gamecom, or as it's written, a game.com. Yeah, it's that obnoxious from the get-go. This grey plastic wonder was released by the mighty Tiger Electronics in 1997, when handheld gaming had well and truly taken off. The Game Boy was still ruling the roost, having released a sleek pocket version in 1996. We wouldn't get the colour screen version until 1998 though, which is worth bearing in mind when we look at the grayscale screen of the Gamecom. The Gamecom was the accumulation of years of success that Tiger had had with handheld games. Handheld games of the especially cheap and cheerful type. Tiger made countless licensed handheld LCD games through the 90s. Although they weren't especially complex, they were cheap and accessible, and their repetitive gameplay appealed well to younger children. These things made Tiger a lot of money and were still going strong even into the early 2000s. Look, you could even get them as watches. What a pile of baubles they were. But kids thought they were cool. Oh wow, look, a Pit Fighter one. You just know that's gonna be awful. I need it. Now, while these LCD games were happily bringing in cash in the background, Tiger dipped its toe in console gaming, first up with the QuizWiz, not to be confused with the Coleco QuizWiz, which from what I can gather works pretty much the same way. This was a 1994 console that used cartridges with an accompanying quiz book. No screen or anything, but it is still technically a console. Now, the Gamecom would be Tiger's second console, the first one being the R-Zone, a console so bad that I am going to have to review it at some point, but I need to get my medication increased before I can do that. To be fair, the R-Zone was so unutterably bad that anything they release after it could only be an improvement. The Gamecom was released specifically to compete against Nintendo's mighty Game Boy. Tiger were very confident that it was more than capable of rising to the challenge. This thing was gonna be some kind of grown-up version of the Game Boy, and since the Game Boy owners back in 1999, when Nintendo's handheld were released, were probably all grown up now, this seemed like an easy win. But you already know that it's gonna be rubbish. I mean, I'm talking about it, so it's gonna be pretty bad. I love me some rubbish consoles. And here it is in all its glory. This is the standard issue box of the first release. As you can see, it came included with a console version of Tiger's popular Lights Out game, and a licensed Batman and Robin game. What a great film to get a license for!
$7 million. Never leave the cave without it.
Because the game could never possibly be worse than the film is. This thing was retailed originally at just under $70, or about 60 quid in this country. Incidentally, this would only be slightly less than the Game Boy Color's introductory price, just less than a year later. Anyway, this thing is not small. It needs 4 AA batteries to work like the original Game Boy, but it can use an AC adapter sold separately. Now, one of the odder things about this thing is the fact that it has 2 cartridge slots. This allows you to choose which game you want to play from the start menu. This interchangeable function is a nice idea, and would make it a more appealing on-the-go machine. The stylus pen clips on the front like this and slides out quite satisfyingly. It's not an utterly hideous console by any means, but it is a bit boring and grey. This is probably the grown-up demographic being targeted. Now, in 1998 we got a pocket version of the Gamecom. This is called the Pocket Pro, because the Pro on the end is sure to make it more cool, right? The original Pocket Pro did have a better screen and was much more pocket-sized, as the name would suggest, and it had a front-lit screen, not a backlit screen as it blatantly said on the packaging. Shortly after, this same design was released in see-through colours, which came in green, blue, pink and purple, but it didn't have the front light. As you can see, it's a much more manageable size than the original one. It only has 1 cartridge slot though. After playing with both of them, this is the one which is much easier to play with because although the screen is still rubbish, it's less rubbish than the original. I also have to say I quite like the look of it. It's cute.
But really, I do have to talk about the screen on both of them.
What you have on both is an LCD screen which is in sore need of some backlighting. While the Gamecom does have a contrast knob, of course, the screen is just so dim that you really do have to stare pretty hard at it unless you're in some glaring light.
The screen of this original Gamecom shows some signs of damage, which is not unusual with these things. However, this smaller one has been left in its box since it was first lent to me more than a month ago. It was absolutely fine when I first got it out, but now turning it on shows these flickery lines that the other one has. This could be a battery problem, but I'm willing to bet that it's just because it's crap with a rubbish screen connection. In any case, it certainly makes the already difficult to see screen more of a nightmare to use. Now, alongside its obvious use as a game console, Tiger's Gamecom had some PDA functions too. These were presented as an actual key element of the console rather than as some kind of bonus. So you'd be forgiven for thinking that this thing was going to be the answer to your office boredom.
Alright, let's take a look at some key PDA functions before we start gaming.
Now, before I start talking about this, I just want to add a disclaimer here that all the footage you see is from an emulator. The reason for this is quite simply because the actual screen is a total nightmare to film from. You can hardly see it for a start, but it's very reflective, and while playing, I'm constantly distracted by the unflattering view of my double chin, so please do forgive the emulation. First up, the Gamecom had a calculator. Very simple, nothing especially exciting. It is rather cute that it is presented with an animation of a typewriter, but it's just your basic calculator with cute sound effects. I suppose at least that's a useful PDA function.
Right, I need you to compile the outgoings on these accounts.
Way ahead of you with my calculator. Oh, I pressed the wrong number. No, hang on.
What are you doing?
The touchscreen is not as simple to use as it looks. It's about 1.5 inches by 2 inches, and that space is divided into squares, which you can see on the screen. This is a design move to help you see where it's okay to press the stylus. If you press where the lines are or where they meet, it tends not to respond. However, since it has no backlight and it's also got a pretty low sensor resolution, it really does seem to be hit and miss regarding whether it works. Although it's worth noting that the Pocket version does seem to have a much more responsive screen. Next up on the list of PDA functions, a telephone directory. This is where you can list your contacts and their numbers. And that's it. But with some cute little pictures and these cute little sounds. I couldn't be bothered to fill out a load of fake contacts because using the on-screen keyboard is an utter nightmare. But it presents 5 contacts on each screen and you can scroll through them, I assume.
Have you got the number for our lead supplier?
Let me have a look in my phone directory. No, I do not.
What a bizarre thing to have on a game console. This really does feel like something to just chuck in for the sake of it. Were they really expecting business people to be wandering around with a Gamecom in their pocket? It's not even especially pocket-sized. This first version is a beast. Finally, there's a calendar. A must for any busy person, surely. And I'm sure if I've got one of these, then my calendar is full of social arrangements.
Right, Octavius, we need you in the office on the 7th to deal with the merger.
Right, I'll just make a note. Oh, so my calendar lets me see dates, but it doesn't let me, put notes on it or reminders or anything, so...
Just use a paper organiser.
No, this is a PDA!
Yeah, so much for the PDA aspect. While you can take a look at the dates, you can't do anything with them. You can't even highlight dates or anything like that. This is most certainly the most useless function of the Gamecom, unless you want to count the high scores menu, which just shows off what you've been playing.
Maybe in the hopes of appealing to the procrastinating but hard-working business crowd, Tiger included Solitaire on this, clearly in response to Windows popularising it on their business and home computers.
Now, this is just a simple game of Solitaire. Nothing special, and it's not awful, but this blows my mind on so many levels. This is supposed to be a game console, and it comes with something as asinine as Solitaire, the ultimate procrastinator. It's not even a nice version. You can't drag the cards around like you could on the Windows version. There's no nice animations, and you don't get that sweet, sweet ending.
Oh, baby, yeah.
Oh, best finish ever. I need a cigarette now. To the Gamecom's credit, it was the first game console to include PDA features, something that isn't unusual to see in handheld consoles these days. It's just They were incredibly limited PDA features to the point of being nearly useless.
It was also, quite excitingly, the first ever handheld to offer internet access. Yep, you could surf the web on this thing. Except you'd need a couple of things to do it, you couldn't just do it right out of the box.
Basically what you have here is something that appears to be an afterthought, but there's still plaster on the box as a main selling point. First of all, you're gonna need this. I'm not gonna open it because, like all this other Gamecom stuff, it's not mine. But I can tell you it contains one internet cartridge shaped like the game carts and a connecting cable. To get this working though, you're going to need to hook it up to a modem. You could use any 14.4 or faster modem, according to the box, but there was a Tiger modem available. Tiger suggested you join Delphi, their chosen internet provider, but you could use another one, although apparently the instructions to do so in the manual are incorrect. Then what you've got is a text-only internet access system. You could send and receive email on it, which would have lended itself to the PDA aspect, I suppose, but if you're on the go, you'd need to hook it up physically into a modem and telephone line. So why not just use a computer?
Imagine plugging this bad boy into the telephone port at the corner of your office, hunching over it so you can get the right angle so you can read the latest @all email from Sharon from accounts, bitching about how no one's been putting their dishes in the dishwasher. And with this crappy touchscreen keyboard, replying would have been a nightmare too. Screw you, Sharon from accounts, I do what I want. Also, I snogged your boyfriend. Send.
Well, you could also use this to upload your high scores to the Gamecom database, so I guess that's sort of nice. The games themselves could not be played with online though. Then again, when you see the games you'll see why that's probably for the best. I've also read on a few forums that this later version of the Gamecom wasn't able to access the internet anyway, even though it did have an Ethernet port.
Now, while I don't think the owners of this later version were really missing out on much by not being able to access the internet, what angers me is that this thing is still called a Gamecom, a game.com. It's specifically named after a website URL, so surely you'd want to keep the internet access thing kind of going on all the versions?
But more than that, it's the fact that while, yes, it could access the internet, the fact that none of the games could, and it was just a crappy browser and email reader, doesn't make it seem worthy of the name at all. What a letdown. Well, when it was released in 1997, the internet at home was still a relatively newly widespread thing, and it was still magical and exciting. Here's betting that naming this thing a top-level domain was trying to capitalise on that.
Well, now that we've established that it's pretty useless as a PDA, we can use it for what it was originally intended for. I've got a whole bunch of games, I've got some very strong wine, let's do this.
The entire library of Gamecom games is only 20 strong, so we're gonna buckle down and we're gonna play every single one of these woesome bad boys and find one, just one, that is actually half decent.
20 games? I can handle that without having a breakdown. I don't wanna!
Well, let's start off gently with the package title, Lights Out.
Ooh, funky! It's the exact same 2 bars played again and again.
There's no music in the main game, by the way, that's your lot. Lights Out is a simple game where you're trying to turn off all the lights on this board by switching each cell's adjacent light on and off. This game only uses the touchscreen. You choose your level and difficulty and you're away, and well, that's sort of it really, it's just lights out. I'm not expecting much from this though, so I guess this one does the job. The only thing is, on the actual console, I'm really struggling to see these words on the right hand side.
Yeah, well that wasn't so bad. Don't know what I was so scared of. Let's play the other pack-in game, Batman and Robin.
By the way, these cartridges are very light, but they are pretty robust. I also like how the game title is on the edge of the cartridge. Some of them need a fair bit of force to slot into the machine though.
Gamecom active.
Gamecom active. That voice sounds like it really doesn't want to be there. I feel ya, buddy.
Ooh, this one has an intro cutscene.
Huh. Well, that was nice.
Alright, now it looks like we're seeing exactly what the Gamecom is capable of. On the actual console, the title screen is almost unreadable. It's just a mess of darkness and you'll have to tilt the screen like mad just to get the light to hit it in that sweet spot, which means you can make it out. So you choose from Batman or Robin here, then you choose your weapon. And here it is in all its glory, Batman and Robin on the Gamecom. So, Batman is just going about his business, and everybody is out after him. Random hockey stick lads, people dressed as a wrestler version of the Predator, even normal people in jackets are giving him a slap. That's the game. Move from left to right, kick people in the face, or punch them, if you can work out which button that is. Batman walks along like he's just taking a leisurely stroll, and when he gets hit, he sounds like he's just in a mod that this is happening all over again.
Ugh, getting beaten up by shin pad lads and hockey players on my evening walk again.
The bar on the top left is your health. You can use a grappling hook to hook onto unseen objects in the sky and pull yourself onto platform. And you can use batarangs too, which is preferable to hand-to-hand combat. Since it's so slow, you're just gonna get decked. However, since the controls are quite unresponsive, you have to sort of think one step ahead. And really, I don't know if it's just the screen on the Gamecoms I have, but I can really see frig all. Graphics like this do not lend themselves to a two-colour screen. I'm fiddling about with the contrast wheel, but no matter what, I'm struggling to make out anything. My camera seems to be able to pick out the screen pretty well, but honestly, in person, it's so difficult to see. Another thing apparent on the actual console screen is a weird sort of laggy effect when Batman jumps or falls off something. This is because the Gamecom has a very slow screen update, so anything fast moving is going to look blurry. It really is jarring on the real thing, and as you will see, it's very much a problem on all action games. Even if you do get past how bad it looks and how bad the controls are, the game itself is boring and repetitive. And the music, oh dear God. This is the worst. A bad game of a bad film on a bad console. It's the trifecta of bat droppings.
Alright, since we got that one out of the way, there's no way there's going to be a worse one. If there is, then I need to go to the shop and get more wine.
Now, one thing I've noticed from the get-go is that it's not easy to get the carts out of the latter Pocket Pro model. It's no walk in the park with the first one, but with this one I had to resort to using some kind of tool just to get the bloody game out most of the times that I switched them. The cartridges do have a sort of ledge to use, but for some of them it's rendered useless. Get out the damn Gamecom! Williams Arcade Classics, Joust Defender, Defender 2, Robotron, and Sinistar all in one cart. It would be pretty difficult to mess these up. Ooh, an arcade mock-up. Cute. Now, you probably know these games well, so I won't go through each of them. On a basic level, they are faithful ports of the games. The sound effects for the most part are quite nice. I do like the explosion noise used. It sounds all crunchy.
Ooh, erotic.
Now, the key thing that's stopping these from being playable handheld versions of these arcade games? The screen.
That blurry effect that I saw in Batman and Robin is a real problem with these games. Any item on the screen that's lighter than everything else is really hard to see because of it. Things like the bullets in Defender and the eggs in Joust you're not going to see until it's too late. And forget moving quickly in Robotron or your little guy will just disappear altogether.
Another thing is inconsistency across the games for the action button. In Defender, it's the A button to shoot. In Sinistar, it's the B button. In Robotron, it's all 4 buttons. A small gripe, but it's annoying. But ultimately, the screen blur just makes this unplayable.
Well, that's another game for the rubbish pile. What's next? I'm still raring to go, mate, because I'm quite drunk.
Scrabble, a nice, low-motion game. Should be able to play this one without wanting to scrape off my corneas. Well, it's Scrabble, not much more to say really. Wheel of Fortune. I do love the avatars on the player select screen. Look at this smarmy git. He knows. He knows. Quite simple, you guess the letters, try to guess the saying or phrase. This one also got a very similar sequel. And well, it's Wheel of Fortune. Because it's not action-based, there's no problem with the screen blur. And this one held my attention for much longer than the other games so far did. That being said, it's not exactly a standout title. Now, a few games in and the screen is really starting to annoy me. On the emulator it's fine, but on the actual system, these squares on the touchscreen are just irritating when you're playing a game that doesn't need it. I keep wanting to rub them off with a cloth. Good old Duke Nukem before he became a bastion of misogyny. Can't beat going around shooting pig lads in the face, but how is that going to translate to this thing? Well, to their credit, they really did give it a good go with making this a first-person shooter. And I'll be honest, even though it is, again, hard to see what's going on, this one isn't awful. I mean, I might just be saying that because everything I've played so far has been kind of rubbish.
Damn.
One of the bigger problems with this is the scenery all looks so similar. It's hard to tell where you're supposed to go most of the time. But this by far is the best one I've played. Buckle up, it's time to play Sonic Jam.
Oh boy!
Oh boy is right. Who doesn't want to play a slow and laggy version of a Sonic game, where the frame rate is slow as all arse and the music is just 5 notes played in a tinny, sad and pathetic arpeggio?
It's the Sonic game we've all been waiting for!
Now this includes Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 2 and Sonic 3. May sound like a good deal, and truth be told, if you're playing the Saturn version, it is. But we aren't playing the Saturn version, are we? Because we hate ourselves. Even without the lag, the graphics of this level are just so hard to make out, there's no way that this could ever be a good game on the actual unit. I don't have access to this game to play on the actual console, but just thinking about how this must look on the screen is giving me an anxiety attack. Plus the camera just feels far too close to the character. You can't really go fast anyway, because you don't know if in the next frame something's gonna hand your arse to you. And it usually does. Just listen to that music.
Wow, that is the saddest thing I've ever heard.
Well, at least it does look like a Sonic game, I'll give it that. A washed out Sonic game that's been left in a puddle of water for a few hours, but a Sonic game all the same. Monopoly! Jeopardy! Quiz Whiz!
Bloody hell, look at this lad!
Alright, who at Tiger thought that this monstrosity would be an appealing look to a quiz game? He looks like the subject of a creepypasta.
No! Airball!
Wow, I would not put that voice to this face. Gamecom is full of surprises.
By the way, crappy quiz game. Next. Frogger. It's Frogger. It's actually a sort of cute looking Frogger. But I mean, it's Frogger. Now might be a good time to bring up the Gamecom sound. So far we haven't heard any especially groundbreaking soundtracks, but what I want to draw attention to is the fact that quite frequently in the games, you will find that the music stops when a sound effect is used. You can hear it especially jarringly in Batman and Robin. The reason for this is that in the case of the sound effects shutting out the music, the same audio channel is being used for both, and only one sound can come out of one channel at any given time. The Gamecom has 4 audio channels, by the way, each used to output different noise types. For a game like Frogger, it's not that jarring, but others like Jurassic Park and Sonic, it really does sound bad. Centipede. Well, this looks awful, although I suppose they didn't really have much to work with, really.
Is it just me, or is having an arcade game from the early 80s on a 1997 console a little bit of a cop-out? I mean, neither Frogger or Centipede come with anything exciting or extra. They're just pretty basic ports of the original arcade games.
At least with the Williams Arcade Classics, that's 5 games in one. But then that makes the Frogger and the Centipede cartridge seem to take the mick even more. These games do not warrant a separate cartridge purchase. Both Frogger and Centipede on the Gamecom try to fool you into thinking you've got a sweeter deal by letting you change to updated version. But the only difference is the graphics look a little bit nicer. The Lost World Jurassic Park.
What? Is that supposed to be what a Stegosaurus sounds like? I mean, I know that we can't possibly know, but that's really the sound that they went with? Sounds like a broken vacuum motor.
The Lost World Jurassic Park features 2 different types of screen. First up you have this monstrosity, where you're driving among a herd of badly voiced dinosaurs. They do not shut up! I do love how the T-Rex just casually runs past like it's on its morning jog. Hiya Jean, love! Nice morning for it! When you reach a nest area, it becomes a platforming game, not unlike Batman and Robin was, except this time, instead of random blokes, you've got random dinosaurs. Neither the driving part nor this platforming part are fun in any way, but it's the sound that really kills this one.
Ah! Ow! Ah! Ah!
Alright, we're near the end now. Come on, only a few more games left. I'm getting quite drunk now as well.
Indy 500. That's right, a racing game on the Gamecom. This is gonna be good.
Please select a transmission.
Oh, the voice on this one is actually quite nice.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Maybe the sound on this one won't be ear-bleedingly bad.
the race begins. Go!
Oh, my ears!
Think this sounds bad enough on the emulator? Try it on the actual machine. It's horrible. Really sharp and tinny. Now, despite the fact that this is a fast-moving game, this one doesn't actually suffer that much with the screen blur issue when played on the console. It also is probably one of the nicer looking games so far on first glance. That being said, it's quite dull. There's not really that much going on. All you see ahead of you is empty track, and the turns come at you so quick it's hard to prepare for them. Every track looks the same. Let's calm down from that thrilling excitement with Tiger Casino.
Yay, a casino game on the Gamecom.
I have never understood why anyone would want to play casino games on a game console. The whole fun of gambling is in winning or losing money, right? Playing for virtual chips just doesn't have that thrill.
Whoa, there's a T-Rex on the title screen. Well, I was wrong about all of that. Let's play this game.
Poker, blackjack, slots, roulette.
That slot machine has a dinosaur coming out of it.
So all the games are how you would expect. There's nothing special about them. I can hardly see the chips when playing it on the system, but aside from that, there's not much that can be said that's bad about this one because there just really isn't that much to it.
Now here's a cop-out. On the box it says that there are 6 winning games to play. But look at the select screen and there's only 5. Yeah, well, the slot machines game, that counts as 2, because there's 2 slot machines. Just when you thought you guys couldn't get any cheaper.
And one of them is played in the mouth of a T-Rex for some f***ing reason. So there you go, that's why there was a dinosaur coming out of the slots. Except they're not played in his mouth at all, it's just a crappy overlay. I wanted to play slots in a dinosaur's mouth. And why is that dinosaur being chased by some cherries?
This game presents so many questions, and I'm not willing to find the answer to any of them. Now, can you think of any kind of game that really wouldn't suit the low frame rate of the Gamecom? What about a fighting game?
Fighters Megamix and Mortal Kombat Trilogy.
Oh, joy! Alright, let's do this one first.
I was gonna say with it being a Sega game it might be half decent, but after that travesty of a Sonic game earlier, I don't have high hopes.
Go!
Oh my ass. This has got to be the most unresponsive game I've played on this thing so far. Made all the more frustrating by computer players' hits landing every damn time. Never mind working out what the combos are, just getting my character to jump is a real struggle with this D-pad. The sound on this one is especially bad too. It's so annoying that it cuts out so prominently every time there's a kick. It would be so much better just to not have the music.
Wow, this is shockingly bad. I mean, really, really bad.
Let's get this over with before I get too drunk. Mortal Kombat Trilogy.
At this stage, I'm so angered by all of these crappy games that I just want to play a game where I can punch someone in the face.
Yeah, backstory, don't care, need to punch someone in the face.
Fight.
Well, to its credit, this one is a little bit easier to deal with than Fighters Megamix. But I think that's probably only because you can use distance attacks a lot easier. If you get in close, then you're gonna get your ass handed to you. I can't work out if the graphics are good or bad. I mean, I can kind of see what's going on. It's just that the graphics are a bit sort of eye-achy, migraine-y, crappy.
And finally there's Henry, which is just the Tiger game translated to a video game. There's not much to say about it really, it's just Henry.
Hey, watch it, pal.
Ooh, what is going on here?
If you've not played this game before, then you're not going to have a clue what's going on. But basically it's a memory game using sound.
Hey, watch it, pal.
Well, that's all the Gamecom games. All in all, that was awful. I mean, really, it was only those letter-based puzzle games that are even half decent. Everything else was just unseeable crap. And all of the action games are truly woeful. You would never play a bad game until you've tried to play a fighting game on this bad boy. It's the kind of thing that makes you feel really angry for no reason. Like I'm just in a really bad mood now. Anyway. Shut up. Alright, fine, I'll play this one as well. I hate you.
Well, let's start off with an interesting little factlet. This was the first ever portable version of a Resident Evil game, or at least I think it is. I couldn't find any earlier versions, the second earliest being Resident Evil Gaiden for the Game Boy Color in 2001. I suppose if you're being pedantic, you could say that the Tiger version isn't a real Resident Evil game because it was developed by Tiger, not by Capcom. By all accounts, it would appear Capcom had very little input in the game.
What? Ah!
First screen and there's a zombie right there ready to munch on your neck. No warning, no building up, just instant zombie action. What kind of first screen is this?
What was Leon doing before this game started? Was he just hanging out with the zombie? Look at how nonchalant he is.
So here you are, instantly getting mauled by a corpse while you frantically mash the buttons trying to work out how to shoot. After getting eaten a couple of times, you'll finally work out that you need to press the C button to draw your weapon and then the A button to shoot it. You need to press the B button to run, but doing that will often throw you right into the arms of a zombie, so you will mostly just have to pace around slowly. By the way, if you're wondering how this could possibly get any worse at this point, I'll just bring up the controls now. Leon moves on tank controls, which is incredibly disorientating with these camera angles. In addition, when you need to turn around, Leon will take his sweet time doing it. You could have a zombie on your back and he'll just casually turn like it's no biggie. Most of this game is just you frantically tapping the D-pad to get away from a slow-moving zombie. It's like watching a budget version of The Walking Dead filmed at the bottom of a swimming pool. The thing is with this game, the best way to deal with the zombies and mutants is to just not deal with them. Most of them appear to be saddled with the same crappy warp controls that you are, and 90% of the time, they just have no clue at all where they're going. Just run past them, and as long as you don't get grabbed, you're good to go. When you do get grabbed, it's a nightmare to push them off, so you don't want that. To Tiger's credit, they do make an effort to make this seem as much like a Resident Evil game as they could. Aside from the fact we are playing as one of the series' core characters, it also features the standard Resident Evil tropes of having item chests to dump stuff in, save rooms, relatively sparse ammo, and zombie police officers. Like in the original Resident Evil games, you need an ink ribbon to use a typewriter to save a game. In the Gamecom version, it's an annoying and unnecessary feature, since all you're really doing is running away from zombies. And on top of that, the graphics are so choppy that most of the time you'll walk right past a typewriter without even knowing. And this game is so bloody awful that you need to save, just in case you slip up and have to crawl through the start again.
If I was being nice, I would say that this port did the best that it could with the given equipment. But I'm not being nice, and this game sucks baubles.
So that's it. That is, honestly this time, all of the Gamecom games ever released. Wasn't that an adventure?
Alright, everyone within a 5-mile radius take cover because I am in the biggest mud.
Other games planned but ultimately cancelled included Command & Conquer, A Bug's Life, NBA Hang Time, and Metal Gear Solid. Although I was unable to find if these were in development or if it was just a license that had been claimed. Symphony of the Night, Castlevania, was planned too.
Symphony of the Night, one of the most beautiful games ever made, was gonna be on this. I really think we dodged a bullet there.
The Gamecom would turn out to be one of the worst selling game consoles, with less than 300,000 units shifted. Obviously in large part due to its bad screen and bad games, but there's no way its patronising adverts could have helped.
I have a surprise for all the slackers, but nothing better to do than play games and surf the net all day.
With so few redeeming features and an online functionality that feels bolted on, it's no wonder gamers didn't take the bait with this useless chunk of plastic.
And you know what? I like rubbish games and consoles, in a perverse way. But this isn't perverse. This isn't even sadism. This isn't sharp, cheeky spanking bad. This is full frontal whacking you on the spine with a sledgehammer bad. This is shoving you into a box of scorpions and then setting fire to it. This is throwing you off cliffs wearing a gimp mask. There is nothing good about the Tiger Gamecom.
Even if the screen wasn't so awful, half of these games would still be bad. While the puzzle games would just be mediocre, the action games are just woeful. Resident Evil 2 on the Gamecom is up there in my top 10 list of worst games I have ever played. And I would rather have my nipples electrocuted by a bloke wearing a latex body stocking than play Batman and Robin again.
I honestly have a migraine from squinting at the screen so long. Look at me, I'm like an old woman squinting to see the small print on our life insurance policy. This handheld has literally aged me. So if you're a retro gaming fan, don't bother with this. Seriously, you'll thank me. Oh, an email from Sharon from accounts. Screw you, bitch. I couldn't have said it better myself. This is throwing you off cliffs wearing a gimp mask.